So apparently, Grace's nerdy electrolyte chat in episode 1 was a hit. Grace is buzzing.
Woohoo!
And in a very wholesome plot twist, we now have Ocean, Grace's favourite electrolyte brand, sponsoring this whole series.
It's honestly a dream. And because they're angels, they've given us a juicy discount code just for Two's Company listeners. But first, let me remind you why electrolytes matter, even if you are not, say, a 10K loving, sweaty for fun athlete like Sophie over here.
I feel attacked already.
So, hydration actually starts on a cellular level. Your cells don't just want plain water. In fact, too much non mineral water can actually do more harm than good. They need minerals like magnesium, potassium, chloride, and sodium to get all their tiny, important cellular jobs done. And let's not forget that our cellular function is the backbone of our physiology and our health, folks. But here's the kicker. Loads of electrolyte brands are basically salt slushies with random flavourings and sweeteners chucked in. You really don't need all that nonsense.
Okay, yes. I've definitely been drinking the nonsense ones.
So Ocean is pure, simple, unadulterated goodness, no weird stuff. It comes in this super easy pump bottle, and I add it to my morning water every day, especially because you're at your most dehydrated first thing.
Are you saying my first thing cup of tea isn't hydration?
I'm saying we'll circle back to that one with love and compassion, Soph.
Right. Anyway, Ocean are giving you 10% off with the code Two's Company. That's TWOS Company. You know the drill. Pop that in at checkout.
We genuinely love this stuff, and we hope you do too. And big thanks to Ocean.
Drinkocean.co. That's OSHUN. Two's Company, Two's Company, Two's Company, Two's Company, Two's Company, Two's Company. But not three, that's too much company.
Nailed it. Hello and welcome to season 2 of Two's Company. This is episode 2. If you haven't heard episode 1, do go back and take a listen. It was rather good. I'm Grace Kingswell. I'm a nutritional therapist.
And I'm Sophie Hellyer. Too many jobs to mention. Titles aside, we're going to be diving into subject matter throughout this podcast that falls outside of our professional remits, but very much inside our collective sphere of interest, responsibility, and moral curiosities.
So this week, we're going to talk about the Caroline Flack documentary, how women have been allegedly ruining the workplace, a little foray into politics, and everything else we've been watching and reading this week, and probably a few tangents we didn't plan on. Trigger warning, we do mention suicide in relation to Caroline Flack.
Yes. Welcome to our carefully curated ramble where we chat, question, laugh, and hopefully just make you feel like you're having a proper natter with your best mate.
Okay then, Soph, shall we get into it?
So after last week's recording, I had quite an eventful night. My 3-year-old, I was trying to put him to bed and he headbutted me. My pointy canine incisor, whatever that sharp tooth is, went straight through my lip and I ended up having to go to A&E and have 3 stitches.
Healed really well, though.
It has, yeah.
What time did you get to bed in the end?
I know, it was my fault. I was trying to put him to bed at 6:30 and instead of bedtime, we obviously ended up in A&E with nice bright lights.
Was it very painful?
I have to say that I have had stitches in worse places, namely my vulva and bumhole. So it wasn't that painful, actually, no. But it did just make a memorable day, let's say.
We probably have lots of mums listening to this podcast, so stitches in those areas, rather common.
Anyway, very middle-aged chat coming up. Get used to it. Grace asked me what service station I was stopping in the other day, and I thought our answers were the perfect metaphor for our friendships. So, Grace.
Well, context is key here. We were both currently driving to Bristol, although in separate cars. And you had already messaged me to let me know about a mobile speed camera on the A30, so I was very grateful for that. And then I just thought, what service station are you stopping at? I always stop at Exeter because it has a Pret. And living in Cornwall, that's actually quite exciting.
And I like to stop at Fradden because it has McDonald's.
Or there's Hog and Hedge because it has soft play. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm just wondering how many people have turned off the podcast since we started off talking
Okay,
about...
let's talk about our Oura rings, because I know you want to tell me about the fact that you've been bereft having not been wearing your Oura ring. And I want to tell you about how my Oura ring hates me. since I entered the second trimester of pregnancy.
Okay, for the listener, do you want to say what an aura ring is?
Yes, well, I'm wearing one now on my finger. It's it's wearable-tech, and it's a tracking device that measures in a lot of detail your sleep, your daytime stress levels, your heart rate variability, which is a nice way of looking at how your nervous system is working throughout the day. It can also track your menstrual cycle for you. You can snap photos of your food and it will tell you if it's looking like a nice balanced meal or not. It's very comprehensive.
Yes. And so I haven't been able to wear my aura ring for a few weeks as my eczema's been too bad. And I'd love to say that I feel really free without it. I'm going to cancel my subscription. But in reality, I really miss it. And I just feel like I've been really lazy without it. It's like I'm my own Tamagotchi and now I'm not wearing it. And I've just put my Tamagotchi in a cupboard to rot for a little while.
I loved Tamagotchis. They were so fun. But I don't check mine in the daytime. I look at it in the morning to see about the sleep and then I just forget about it until the next day. But I genuinely do think with something like Aura or any wearable tech, if you're someone that suffers from a bit of health anxiety, as lots of people do, you know, definitely best to avoid because it's not going to sugarcoat any of the facts and that can trigger some people. But mine, in my first trimester of pregnancy, my HRV, which is that metric of kind of how your nervous system and your stress response is working, was the highest it's been in years. It was so high for me. And then since I've entered the second trimester, it has absolutely tanked. And actually, I can really feel that in my body. Like I feel stressed like a lot. And there's no kind of overt reason for me to be stressed. I just feel completely dysregulated. Don't know what the heck my hormones are doing. I know my uterus is growing at its fastest rate at the moment. I'm also not sleeping. Basically, I need to have a whinge because actually this is awful. And I feel like especially as someone that's had an embryo transfer and been through IVF, I should be very grateful for the position I find myself in. But this pregnancy is kicking my ass so much more than my first. And I don't know if I guess you're just like more nutrient depleted, you're tireder, you have a toddler already. And even though I waited 3 years in between, because it takes a woman minimum 3 years to regain her nutrient stores after a pregnancy. And I'm probably more nutrient replete than lots of people with being a nutritionist, but oh my God, it's just the worst. Like, just get this baby out. Or actually, maybe don't because I hate that part too.
I did not enjoy being pregnant whatsoever, and I will not be pregnant again.
Some people really love it. I just think it's awful.
Those people are not me.
No, I'm finding it so hard. Anyway, I'm very tired, everyone. That's why my eye bags are looking very designer today.
Anyway, I have a very important question for you.
Yes, I'm listening.
Did you listen to the Lily album in order from start to finish? Please give me your feedback.
I actually listened to it so many times because I started listening to it on that day that the day after we were both driving. I was then driving from Bristol to London in a storm on the M4 with my toddler in the back and a baby in my stomach. And I was like aquaplaning on the M4. Couldn't hear a thing because the rain was so loud. And Jude was watching Paw Patrol in the back. So I listened to it probably like 10 times and I got bits. And then I did get the chance to listen to it without the rain. And it's still in my head today. This is like 2 weeks ago. I do actually really like it. I mean, the songs are very catchy. I particularly like the one in 3/4 that comes in towards the end.
I don't know what that means.
It's like, if you were going to do a waltz, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2,
Well, I
3.
also don't know how to waltz, surprisingly.
Well, I don't know how to waltz either, but And then they're just like, the songs are really catchy. Obviously, the message is incredibly clear and very illuminating. And as we were saying, like, it's so nice to hear lyrics that are completely unbridled.
On the lyrics, my 3-year-old asked me on the way into nursery, "Mummy, what's a pussy palace?"
What did you say?
I told him it was a very nice house where lots of cats lived, a bit like a cat cafe.
That's a great response. And in that song, I also need to ask you, what is a dojo? I think it's a pussy palace, pussy palace, pussy palace. I always thought it was a dojo. Dojo. What's a dojo?
So a dojo is some kind of like martial arts place. I think it's like a metaphor for a man cave.
So did the husband have like a little pad?
I think he must have had his own little flat somewhere that was like his man cave.
Yeah, which was actually his sex palace.
Which allegedly was full of butt plugs.
Oh.
Which is why we now cannot listen to that song around my child.
She's going on tour with that album. Are you going to get tickets?
I don't know if by that time I'll have listened to it too much and be over it, or if it'll still be really fun. I'm not sure.
Okay, TBC. So it's about the time of year that I need to ask you, have you seen the Waitrose slash either John Lewis Christmas advert?
Yes. Wait, hang on. I have seen the John Lewis Christmas advert.
But have you seen the Waitrose
I have
Christmas
not
advert?
seen the Waitrose one.
So you haven't seen the one with Keira Knightley in?
No.
Okay, so this is just really fun and lovely. My brother used to produce the John Lewis Christmas adverts when he was at a previous agency. So it's like always a very hot topic within my family when it comes out. Like, is it good? Do we like it? So the Waitrose Christmas ad is really lovely. So Jo Wilkinson meets Keira Knightley. And the premise is that she would never go for him because she is playing herself within this little mini rom-com. And he obviously sees her. They meet over the cheese counter in Waitrose. And he's like, oh my God, it's Keira Knightley. Anyway, they fall in love. And what I love about it is it's very lovable. It's very funny. And apparently there's a great spin-off where Joe is reading through the script and he gets to the bit where it says they kiss and he's basically thrilled with life. Very funny and worth a watch. And there's a great piece in the Times written by Joe called I Wooed Keira for Waitrose, but don't call me a sex symbol, because he has become the nation's new bumbling romantic comedy star.
I have a question. Is Joe Wilkinson the one that was on Celebrity Traitors, whose name I couldn't
You
think
know,
of?
I've not watched that.
Well, he's got like length long hair,
Shaggy.
very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very funny,
What is it gonna be?
shaggy hair.
I'd hope he's funny. He's a comedian.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's
Okay.
him. So a very unlikely sex symbol now.
I was about to say he looks a bit like my partner in a way.
He actually weirdly does. That is so brilliant. So can you be Keira Knightley in this scenario?
Sorry, but you've also just said Johnny's not a sex symbol.
No, I said he's an unlikely sex symbol. Unlikely. There we go.
And you've seen the John Lewis advert too, yeah?
No, I've not actually seen that one.
We
I
need to share
know.
notes. The John Lewis advert, if you haven't seen it, it's basically the son gives the dad a record for Christmas, and the dad puts on the record, listening to it, and it flashes back to when the child, like the 18-year-old boy, was a toddler, and it
Oh,
like
I've seen
flashes
it.
through his life.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And it made me have a little cry about my little child growing up and moving out. I did see lots of criticisms of it, like, why are there two women washing up in the background? And apparently John Lewis doesn't even sell the record that it was advertising. But I do think the advert speaks to the issues of male loneliness. I think apparently it was inspired by that adolescent TV show.
Have you watched that? I'm still too scared to. I know I need to watch it. It's called Adolescence, right?
Yeah, I watched it anyway.
So maybe the John Lewis ones are the like heart wrenchers, and then the Waitrose is like the fun and fluffy.
And I'm going to go home and watch it.
Yeah, you should.
Less fun TV. I mean, that sounds really negative, but it was less fun. I watched the new Caroline Flack docuseries on Disney, Search for the Truth, and it was really sad, to be honest. I cried again. She's a woman who's always had her challenges with her mental health, and to see how the police failed her and the media blew it into something huge, it was really upsetting to watch. And ultimately, it was a story about a mother losing her child. But do you remember it being in the media at the time? I guess that happened around the time that we were filming the first series of the
Mm.
podcast.
Yeah. It was like hugely shocking when that happened. And I think threw so much light on the reality TV industry, Love Island in particular. It was just like a massive tragedy.
The story in the media was very much that she was an abuser and she beat her boyfriend up. But in reality, firstly, she was tiny. She was like 5'3" and very slim, and he was 6'3". And the idea that he ever felt physically threatened by her was, in my opinion, slightly absurd. And the media just made out that these pools of blood on the bed sheets, they were photos printed in the paper of this, and they made out that it was his blood, that she had injured him, but actually that was all her blood where she had self-harmed. So this
God.
documentary series tells the kind of the real story of what happened.
And how did you feel when you finished that?
I think it's good that her mum's made it to get the truth out there. But I also think that since that happened, nothing's really changed. Like we've seen Lily Allen, for example, for the last year in the media, she's been like absolutely stalked and harassed and been treated horribly by the media until now when her new album's come out and they're all worshipping her. But I think they were going to bring in some new thing about Caroline's law or something, trying to stop press being able to sit on doorsteps and harass women in the way that they do, but it didn't get passed in the House of Lords or however
Yeah.
far it got.
I often feel like sometimes when like a documentary or something like that comes out a few years after the fact, the damage has been done. It's still very difficult to change public opinion in a way. Like, and you hope that it's done enough. Like you were saying, it's great that her mum's made that to get the truth out there, but not everyone's going to watch it, I suppose.
More light-hearted news. Did you see the one that Vogue published? It went viral. Is having a boyfriend embarrassing?
No,
No, it's not embarrassing, or no, you didn't see it?
no, I haven't seen it. I didn't read
Because
Vogue.
I think, yes, having a boyfriend is embarrassing.
Why? What was the like general?
Historically, women were considered property of men, and if you didn't get married, you were ostracized. So under patriarchy, hetero relationships were necessary, like literally for survival, right?
Yeah, because there was no way you could have any money if you weren't married.
Yeah. So I think in turn, relationships have, and they can feel quite oppressive, right? You and I are always talking about the mental load and other things that we whinge about in our relationships. I just think there's a real cultural shift here of people choosing to be single and choosing not to settle in a relationship where, you know, patriarchal structures also fall into your relationship.
I don't think it's, I mean, I did always find the word, and I still do find the word boyfriend a bit embarrassing.
Me too. I always use the word partner because I feel it's more aloof. Am I talking about my business partner, my boyfriend, my husband, or,
No, see, I don't use the word because I'm married. I'm very happy to use the word husband, and that to me, I don't have the same weirdness about that because it makes me feel like I'm an adult. I have a husband, I have a child, and a job and a life. Whereas when I was younger, and I was like, oh, hi, this is my boyfriend Nick. Like it all just felt a bit like.
well, I'm 38 and I have a boyfriend, but I like to say partner. Actually, the main reason I like partner is because people don't know if I'm gay or straight.
Well, I think also you've got to. I think you've got to. Should ask Johnny. I think you've got to that life stage, and I think a child and a mortgage is enough of a commitment to be able to call someone your life partner, right? It's not like,
But as if I'm going to say life partner, though.
no, but that's the implication when you say partner. I think it's your partner in
Yeah.
life.
But you're also my partner, Grace. You're my business
I
partner.
know, but I think boyfriends are like dispensable.
Anyway, do we agree the word boyfriend's a little bit cringe?
I think it's a bit cringe.
Sorry, people.
I wanted to. So this is not new news, but it was in the Times last week, and it's to do with IVF and the scandal of people being absolutely taken. Run for their money by IVF clinics, charging them extras that they really don't need. One couple paid 80,000 for their son after being told they needed add-ons like genetic testing, IVIG, which is a form of immunotherapy, and multiple other bits and bobs. And some of the big clinics in London do this. I mean, we have to remember like IVF for these clinics as a business. There are some clinics who are wonderful and lovely and very patient led, but lots of them aren't like that. I mean, 80,000 when really an IVF cycle should cost you 6 to 10. And as someone with personal experience of IVF, it makes me really, really sad that this happens. And yet no one inside an IVF clinic is mentioning that they could support themselves with better nutrition or losing weight. They will say that to you and they will tell you to stop smoking, but they'll just say, oh, take some folic acid and vitamin D, like nothing else is mentioned, and really that's just not enough. But I think on the flip side, not many clinics are actually offering testing that can be really supportive, like sperm DNA fragmentation. They're jumping straight to like immunotherapy, in which we actually don't have a lot of evidence on. And at the end of the day, yeah, it's a business. With infertility on the rise, I think we need to be very aware of that, because I think so many more couples are going to need the support of clinics to get pregnant. Sperm rates have decreased by 50% in the last few years, and that is just to do with the world we live in. It's literally diet, lifestyle, toxin exposure, BPA, phthalates, scented candles, Sophie Hellyer.
Is this in the UK? Some couples have paid 80,000.
Yeah,
That really surprised me because
it's a lot cheaper abroad. Lots of couples go to Greece and Turkey for their IVF.
but also more expensive abroad. And so I've egg donored 5 times. And I know when you egg donor in the UK, you can't get paid for it. It's all like they keep the costs relatively more affordable for couples. In America, I could sell my eggs for a hell of a lot of money. I've got a degree. I've been a model in the past, part-time, albeit. Um, but in America, I can see how all these extravagant charges get put in. But I'm quite shocked that that's happening in the UK.
Yeah, it's a money-making scheme. I mean, at the end of the day, they had a son, and that's amazing, but I just don't think anyone should have to pay 80 grand for that.
Mm-mm. Nope.
So I also read about Paris Hilton in the Sunday Times magazine. Did you know she's a DJ too?
Yes, I did.
She gets like I think it was like 1 million for a DJ slot.
I actually love Paris Hilton. Her and was it Nicole Richie? And they
Yeah,
used to have that
Nicole Rich.
show. What's it
Yeah, it
called?
was called.
Where they had to go and get jobs.
Damn it! It was so funny, and they both had these little catchphrases. And Paris's was what was her little
That's
catch?
hot.
That's hot. Yeah. Anyway, loads of people try and impersonate her and do like the voice.
Was it The Simple Life?
Yeah, that's it. The
Oh my
Simple
god, that was
Life.
so funny.
So, a few things I found interesting about this piece on her. She used a surrogate for her kids because she felt like her body was not a very safe place. She has a lot of panic attacks and has been through quite a lot of trauma from her upbringing, which involved being sent away to a school, which actually turned out to basically be like a correctional facility. And she has since campaigned very hard to get lots of these schools closed down in America where she wasn't allowed to phone home. If she tried to write a letter, it was intercepted. You know, if she tried to like tell her parents actually what was happening there and what was being done to her and what it was like, she basically wasn't allowed. Sounds pretty terrible.
So it was meant to be a boarding school, but it
Meant to
was
be like a really lovely boarding school for like maybe troubled kids or something, but actually like awful. But she doesn't come across that well in the article, I have to say. Saying like her work schedule was too busy to vote in an election, for example, didn't sit that well with me. Ignoring the fact that Michael Jackson had and has, multiple claims of paedophilia against him. She was really good friends with him growing up, and she just said, "I don't take part in all of those things," kind of thing. Just like very much staying out of all of that, and basically saying that she was planning to be a very overbearing and controlling parent with her own kids because she knows every trick in the book. And I'm like, is that not part of the problem? Why you ended up having this huge what's the word, rebound from your strict parenting and kind of went off the rails sort of thing. But hey, Paris Hilton. I didn't think it was a great piece, but I enjoyed reading about her, and it made me remember those days of watching The Simple Life and also how much time I wasted when I was younger watching terrible reality TV, like MTV Cribs. Did you watch that? Yeah.
loved it. I used to have that Kerrang! Do you know, actually, we didn't have Sky TV or any channels. We just had channel 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was a late teenager, channel 5. But I used to go to friends' houses who would have, and you'd watch like MTV, Kerrang! And Cribs and whatever else was on.
Oh, there was another one. She was a singer. She did these boots are made for walking, like a version of Jessica Simpson. Did you watch The Simpsons? Her and her with
Nick.
Nick Lachey.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was also just great.
I had something else to say on that, but my brain just engaged. Yeah, Paris Hilton saying that she didn't have time to vote in the election. I know some people have insanely busy work schedules, yada yada, but her saying that she's not bothered by all of that. It annoys me when people say that they're not political and they say out of that because everything is political.
That's probably because she's mates with Donald Trump. She's like, oh, I'm not political, so
I know, but it's like you using a surrogate, that's political. The food you eat, the makeup you use, the clothes you wear, like every decision you make and how you spend your money, it's all political. So we can't not be political. So it's a very privileged position to sit back and say that, like, I don't want to vote. This is a lovely segue because I feel like your eyes glaze over when I talk about politics in the same way that mine glaze over when you talk about the new series of Line of Duty. However, I saw a new poll showing that the Green Party have taken the lead in youth voting intention, which is 18 to 25-year-olds. And we talked in the last episode about why we either voted or were going to vote Green. So maybe we're like down with the kids or ahead of our time or something here, Grace.
I mean, anyone that says down with the kids is definitely not down with the kids.
Okay, well, I'm voting with the kids.
Okay, that's
Not
fine.
the 18-year-olds. They are kids. Fuck it.
They are in comparison to us, let's be honest.
I read a piece on The Atlantic titled "The Most Useless Piece of Parenting Advice," and it was all about the phrase "it takes a village," and don't be afraid to ask for help. But a village implies like a loose, reciprocal network of people who want to help one another, right? And so, firstly, I don't want to minimize the contributions of my village. I remember you and Nick looking after my 6-week-old baby so I could go surfing,
I remember
and
that.
all the friends who dropped off food postpartum, I'm forever grateful for that. But the reality is most people just don't have a village, right? Like you and I have no family locally. And the reality is we're both busy with our own children and our own work. And thus the village is not free. The author says it takes a village is advice that sounds sometimes I need you to step in and say a word for me.
Communitarian?
But in fact pushes for an individualistic
Individualistic?
Solution to a societal problem. So they're saying, like, using this phrase, "It takes a village," it's actually detracting from, demanding the kind of solutions that will actually help, like longer paid parental leave, flexible and remote work. I've been applying for lots of jobs recently, and I've been asking for a 4-day week, and people just say, "No." Free childcare and just a work culture that accepts the constancy of children's sickness. Both of our children in the last week have had the vomiting bug. Anyway, I found it really interesting because you do hear that a lot. It takes a village, and actually, piss off, the village isn't free. Like, we don't all have a village, and we need better solutions than an imaginary village that doesn't exist for free.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that we used to have a village, right? Because we used to not have such easy access to travel or the ability to maybe work from home and therefore live like you and I both live here for the lifestyle that Cornwall affords us because your partner as well, and myself and Nick are both self-employed, as are you. We have kind of flexible working, so we can sort of live like right at the end of the UK and get by and not have to be like near London or a desk, an office job sort of thing. But I think then that isolates you. Like I know that we've moved here and that's isolated us,
Yeah.
whereas we could have chosen to live in the same village as my parents if we wanted to and then had them.
But even then, firstly, that it's a real privilege to have parents who can help. Not everyone's got parents to help. So even that, like, yes, you're right. I don't think people are living with their grandparents and their parents nor helping each other. But not everyone has parents who can or will help. My mum's 73 and she still works as a care worker almost full time. She's out at work looking after old people, even though she
I
is an old
can't
person.
really talk because my parents come down every Tuesday from Bristol and they drive 2.5 hours here and 2.5 hours back in a day, every day. And my dad is 76 and my mum is 70 in February.
I know, but that's your village, right? So you have a village on Tuesdays.
As I have a village on Tuesdays, but obviously my husband's family are in Australia, so there's like no village there. But I think, yeah, I think it's hard and it is annoying because, when that is said to you, you're like, yes, well, even if I had the village, I think it would still be hard. I think it genuinely, parenting is always going to be difficult. There's not really anyone that's going to step in and do the night shift.
Well, if you're wealthy enough to pay for it, yes, there is.
Oh, yeah, like having a.
And if you're wealthy and you could pay for your village, then you can pay for a chef and a cleaner and childcare and a nanny and a night nurse. And, wealth
Mm.
does afford you a village.
Yeah, I mean, we could also mention the Scandinavian countries here, which I feel get it so right in terms of
Mhm.
benefits for parents, longer paternal leave after a baby's born.
I think they have compulsory paternal leave so that
Yeah, and it's
men
really
have to have
long.
that career gap as well. It's
Yeah.
forced.
Yeah, and they can share it. Nursery and childcare is all, I mean, obviously they have very high taxes, but then they get a lot of free childcare.
What's the most useless or annoying parenting advice you've ever been given?
It's a good question. I think especially in the early days, I hated people saying, "Don't worry, it's all just a phase," or like, "It does get better." And you're like, "Tell me when. Give me a date because I cannot do it anymore." That I would find really irritating, but I have found myself saying that to people who are going through it.
But also, it doesn't really get easier, it
Changes,
changes.
yeah. But it does go quickly when you look back. I think, "Oh my god, wow, like, that went so fast." But when you're in it, it is not going fast.
I think the best thing is to not give any parenting advice to anyone and just say, "Mate, that sounds tough." That sounds shit.
Just empathize.
Yeah. Time for a jingle.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Explain it to me unprofessionally.
I'll keep it short and concise.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Explain it to me. I am springing this on Grace Kingswell because I have not planned this segment. So, nail varnish. Bear with me. Everyone online has their nails done all the time. And I say this knowing one of my friends is a nail tech, but there's something about nail varnish and manicures that is just giving me the ick at the moment. I think there's something really beautiful about a well looked after healthy nail, and even like that you can tell from the nail bed how healthy a person is. And I've really gone off a painted colored nail and like all this, the fake look of a gel manicure. So I aesthetically am not loving a manicure. I just love a neat, tidy, clean nail. But I have seen recently share something about manicures and health reasons. Why are manicures not healthy?
Yeah, well, firstly, I think it's important to not take any health advice from people you see on social media who are, one, wearing AirPods, and two, have their nails painted because they are clearly lying to themselves about certain things, or they're just maybe ignorant of them. So I guess the first thing is that nail varnish is hugely toxic. Actually, if you are a nail technician and you work in a nail salon, I would go as far as to say is that's one of the most dangerous places that you could work. And that if you do work in one, then you need to be thinking about things like wearing a mask, having a really good air filter in the nail salon, ventilating really well, etc., etc. There are so-called like low tox nail polishes, but they are still pretty toxic. And it's the same with like anywhere else in your body. What you put on your nail doesn't just stay on your nail. It's not just inert. It get absorbed. And also we inhale the fumes. I was on a train the other day. It annoys the hell out of me when someone will paint their nails or spray perfume in a confined space. I think it's very unfair. You know, like when you're on an aeroplane and they bring the duty-free trolley around and they say, "Oh, would you like to try a sample of that perfume?" And you've got people spritzing perfume. You can't get away. You cannot get away. And these things are so sorry.
If you want to hear Grace go on a rant, talk about air fresheners in taxis.
Or a rant. A rant. Yeah, it's the same thing with air fresheners in taxis. I actually had a message from a follower just the other day. Grace, can you send me some studies to back up the air freshener and hormonal toxic effects? Because my PT has just plugged in loads of like Glade plugins, and I asked him to take them out and he laughed at me and said like, "Oh, show me the evidence," kind of thing.
My partner's mum has those Glade plugins, and whenever we go to her house, every time you walk into the lounge, it sprays.
Oh,
It makes me
awful.
feel so ill. It's like,
Yeah, well, you need to unplug them, especially when you're there with your son.
I know that's the one. I love going to visit the grandparents, but those Glade plugins really get me, man.
So phthalates are in these products are endocrine disrupting chemicals. So they change the way that your hormones are working within your body. We have really good evidence to correlate them with infertility in both male and female, so decreasing sperm quality and egg quality. Your toenails and your nails are also a really important part of the way that your body communicates with senses and emits light frequencies. They're almost like a beacon for.
Should I hold them up to the sunrise?
So when you put a paint on your nail and you're like, blacking that out, you're changing the way that communication is actually happening within the body. And that is really profound.
Wow. I also then wonder what happens when you put your fingernails under the lamp to dry the polish.
Yeah, well, that's UV. Yeah. So
Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. It always makes mine kind of hurt. I don't like
you
it.
don't really want to ever isolate any wavelength or frequency outside of the full spectrum because we are not designed as humans to see light that is not full spectrum. So like these LEDs above us, for example, not great.
So while I was doom scrolling last night, I saw a reel and it was a man and he said something along the lines of, when I see a girl who's not got a manicure or not got her nails done, I assume she's broke.
My God.
I was like, no.
Send him my way.
Firstly, assume perhaps they work for the NHS. They're like, they could be a surgeon or some kind of doctor and not be allowed nail varnish. Also, maybe they just don't like how it looks. Maybe they haven't got the time. Maybe I don't want to spend £40 a month on having my nails done. And also,
Awful.
Grace Kingswell will tell you how bad it is for your health.
Yeah, just fuck off. Like, that's an awful thing to say. Like, I very rarely shave my legs in the winter. I wonder what he would say about that.
Luckily, we don't care of this man's opinion, so.
I have a question for you.
Oh, no.
You used to not shave your armpits, but I think you shave your armpits now. Are you no longer a feminist?
Excellent question. I kind of pick and choose which areas of. I'm always a bit of a. Is a conundrum the right word? A juxtaposition. I've always shaved my legs, and I love having a bikini wax, like my bikini line done, but I haven't then always shaved my armpits. I feel like not shaving the armpit is like a good visual rebelling to the patriarchy of like the beauty standards that are put upon us.
But then you do
Unrealistic
love to wear
beauty.
makeup and like do your hair.
Yeah, like, it's a real conundrum because I adhere to the beauty standards that are set upon us that are completely fucking ridiculous. So don't have any answers, but I do tend to shave my armpits these days. Yeah.
I find if I don't shave my armpits, I just get more sweaty. Natural deodorant gal over here. But I actually had laser hair removal.
Recently.
Yeah, I've done 3 you're supposed to have 6 sessions. I did 3 and then got pregnant, and now I can't go back.
I had, I think, 3 sessions when I lived in Australia. It was much cheaper there, but because I never finished it, it just grew back and it wasn't worthwhile at all. You have to like do all 10 sessions.
You can. So I said to them, I was like, what happens? And they said, well, I can't wax. So I'm usually someone that waxes my legs. I hate shaving because it just makes your hair thicker and I have like dark hair. And they said, well, if you want to have your last 3 sessions and like finish the kind of package and get to a stage where your hair doesn't really grow back, just while you're pregnant, like don't wax your legs. You can only shave. And so now I just have to shave. And then when the next baby's born, I'll go back and have my laser hair removal on my legs. And I was really worried about it because I was like, surely this is not good for me. But actually, no, the research is like there's no risk.
Of course you looked into it. That sounds also a bit, what's the word I'm looking for today?
Suspect?
No, like 2 opposing opinions. Polarizing? I don't
Me being a bit of a hypocrite.
saying no to nail varnish, but yes to laser. Anyway, same. We're all hypocrites. Whatever. Jingle?
Send us an email if you're a really cool female. Ooh, you're such a cool female. Send us a letter to make us feel better. You make us feel better. Time for the mailbag. Time for the mailbag.
So we had a listener write in to say she was listening to the episode while walking her dog and she was wearing her barrel jeans and a chunky boot. If you didn't listen to the first episode, that will mean nothing to you. But for people that did, we obviously know our listeners well and we're all dressing wrong according to the internet.
I got another reel targeted to me literally yesterday about don't wear chunky trainers with barrel jeans. And she went through a series of looks and I actually thought the trainers looked the best.
Someone messaged me to say they had to pause the podcast during a dog walk as a strange man was following them and hiding in the woods. And it sounded like a very creepy, scary experience. We have to remember that as women, wearing headphones can actually make us really vulnerable.
Yeah, that's not very nice at all. You've got your headphones that don't actually go in your ear, do you? I've got the over-the-ear noise-cancelling ones, which I bought when we were living in London. I was like on the tube, but I actually hate the feeling of being like blocked out from the world.
Yeah, so I wear the bone conductors, which allow me to hear. They're great for if you're running or cycling. You can hear all the traffic around you. You can hear your breathing. You kind of know what's going on. And you can listen to music or a podcast. So maybe we need those to keep us safe from
Well, not for me
weirdos.
because they're Bluetooth and I won't be putting Bluetooth.
Anyway, the listener said, not all men, but always a man. And did we want to share any experiences we had?
Sorry, you just completely cut me up there. And I was, you obviously don't care what I have to say about Bluetooth headphones. I was just saying I will never wear those because they're Bluetooth.
Try running in a pair of corded headphones. The most annoying thing ever.
Like I said, never take health advice from someone wearing AirPods.
You're obviously not going running then, Grace Kingswell.
I would just wear wired ones. I still have those.
Anyway, the question that the listener asked was a bit bleak, so I'm just going to ignore it. Another listener replied and they said that they were delighted we were back. However, us being back in their ears has reminded them from a story from a listener last season. Do you remember where she speared her vagina in quite a
Yes.
savage yet comedic
Awful.
incident?
Yeah.
And that listener with the speared vagina has since become a mother. So congratulations. And I hope your vagina gives you no more future pain in your life.
Congrats. I did put a story up this morning saying anyone got any questions and I have had no replies. So there we go.
And that's us done for the week.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode and we will be back very shortly. Bye-bye.
Wait, say about the reviews and shit.
Oh, yeah. If you like the podcast and you have 2 seconds to leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app, then we'd be very grateful.
And actually, this is really important because we have started from scratch with Series 2. We don't have any subscribers or any reviews. So even if you reviewed Series 1, please go back in. And I know it's annoying, but just give us 5 stars and 5 stars only. Thank you very much. Subscribe to the show. Every star, every rating counts.
Yeah, it's annoying, actually, because we had lots of subscribers and downloads and really great stats for the first series and we lost them all.
So we aim on this being a fortnightly podcast, but full disclosure, we've got small humans running around. Grace has one under construction. So bear with us while we try and be reliable. And hopefully this lands in your ears on Thursday.
Bye-bye. Bye. Oh, I didn't talk about how packs of butter are getting smaller. I'll do that next time.
Two's company, two's company, two's company, two's company, two's company, two's company, but not
Not 3, that's too much company.
Nailed it.
So apparently Grace's nerdy electrolyte chat in episode 1 was a hit. Grace is buzzing.
Woohoo!
And in a very wholesome plot twist, we now have Ocean, Grace's favourite electrolyte brand, sponsoring this whole series.
It's honestly a dream. And because they're angels, they've given us a juicy discount code just for Two's Company listeners. But first, let me remind you why electrolytes matter, even if you are not, say, a 10K loving, sweaty for fun athlete like Sophie over here.
I feel attacked already.
So, hydration actually starts on a cellular level. Your cells don't just want plain water. In fact, too much non mineral water can actually do more harm than good. They need minerals like magnesium, potassium, chloride, and sodium to get all their tiny, important cellular jobs done. And let's not forget that our cellular function is the backbone of our physiology and our health, folks. But here's the kicker. Loads of electrolyte brands are basically salt slushies with random flavourings and sweeteners chucked in. You really don't need all that nonsense.
Okay, yes. I've definitely been drinking the nonsense ones.
So Ocean is pure, simple, unadulterated goodness, no weird stuff. It comes in this super easy pump bottle, and I add it to my morning water every day, especially because you're at your most dehydrated first thing.
Are you saying my first thing cup of tea isn't hydration?
I'm saying we'll circle back to that one with love and compassion, Soph.
Right. Anyway, Ocean are giving you 10% off with the code Two's Company. That's TWOS Company. You know the drill. Pop that in at checkout.
We genuinely love this stuff, and we hope you do too. And big thanks to Ocean.
Drinkocean.co. That's OSHUN.